Hi, this is Michael Dorn, and I'm on Comics Online.
I'd love to just start off with earliest memories of Star Trek. You've gotten to work on so many different shows over the years, but what are the first memories that come to mind from your personal experience?
The first year of Star Trek, getting the job was memorable. I was working a lot. I was doing a lot of different shows, comedies and dramas, and when this came about, they called and I told my managers and agents, I said, look, I'd really like to read for them. And so she called and they said, well, it's over. We already have everybody, and that was it. And then 2 weeks later, I get a call from my agent. They said, they want to see you for the role of a Klingon. And which was very interesting. At the time, I was dating a lady, a dear person, and we were both Star Trek fans. And so when I got it, we were really excited, and the process was very fast. I mean, I read one day, then I think a day went by, and then I got a call to read again. And after that, I went right into makeup. And it was very fast. But, out of all that, it was working with Gene, and Bob Justman, because I had long admired them since the 60s when I saw the original. And that was a real, moment in your life when you do something that you never thought you'd do, and that you long you admired the people, and they were not heroes to you, but they were icons, and so it was amazing.
Well, and you're one of the few cast members that's gotten to go over to another series and continue on to DS9. How did it come to fruition?
I was, we had done the last year of Next Generation. We had done the first movie for Next Generation, and I was in Baltimore doing a video game, and I get a call at my hotel from the producer, Rick Berman. And he says, hey, Mike, how you doing? We talked a little bit. He says, look, I want to ask you, what would you think about coming back to Deep Space as Worf? And I go, sounds cool. And so we talked about it, and it was a lengthy process, not so much any of the other stuff, but the business part of it was lengthy. They were tough negotiators.
Well, Worf got to have a lot of character-centric pieces in DS9, but also DS9 was so much more serialized than the Next Generation.
Yeah. Was
it a very big difference for you as far as the filming process between the series?
No, there's no difference, not really. And all the actors on Next Generation and Deep Space, we're all working actors, so we've been through it. There's nothing really surprising about it. It was still in the days where you did 26 episodes, and each episode was capsulized, basically. They just started doing that serialized, but even then it was still, an episode was an episode,
Aside from that, I'm still not over the loss of Jadzia. I don't know about you at this point, but it's still, one of the biggest moments from Deep Space Nine that always stood out to me. I would love to jump ahead to your time with Star Trek Picard and getting to return with your fellow castmates from the Next Generation, and working with Terry Matalas and Todd and everyone.
Sure.
What was it like getting to revisit this character so many years later?
The really interesting thing about that whole process was I had been contacted for 2 or 3 years before Picard about coming back and being on in the Star Trek world, and for some reason it just never worked out. It was never, and not because we didn't want it to happen. It was just all kind of business things that had to do with them and not me, and so I was always on the verge of coming back, so it wasn't, but I got to say it was a shock that we just got a call and they said, we're going to do this, do you want to be involved, and we're going to pay you this, and this is the way it's going to be. And it was sort of like real easy to come back. They made it really easy, so it wasn't a big transition. It wasn't even, we had some discussions, we talked about the character, and then you're working. And that's what it was. It was such an easy transition. I mean, you've been doing this for 30 years, so they can't surprise you.
Do you have a personal highlight from your time with Picard?
Oh, the whole, everything about it was fun because I was with Michelle Hurd, and she and I bonded personally and professionally and as actors, and as friends. And so that was really amazing. But there was a scene at the end where I say goodbye to her, and I think that was a highlight for me because we had come this arc of stuff that we had done, with her and with me, and our two worlds, kind of coincided, but they were so different. And then at the end, we come together, and we say, yeah, this is great. This has been wonderful. And I leave. And I thought that was special.
I'd like to switch over to voice acting for a moment.
Sure.
You've gotten to voice so many characters within the DC animated universe, and working with Bruce Timm and Andrea Romano. Any specific memories that you could share from doing those series?
She was. I remember the producers like Andrea and Romano, and there was a bunch of people from another. I remember those, and also I remember there's a real core group in those days of people. And that's all there was that did everything, and I just remember enjoying the work, but also enjoying when the microphones were off, these guys would start riffing on the stuff that was hilarious. They were, good people and smart and funny and intelligent, and I just remember the people more than anything else.
Well, obviously you got to return for Worf. Is there any other character from your lengthy career that you would love to revisit someday in the future?
Yeah, not from Star Trek, but I did, I think, 4 or 5 episodes of Castle, and I was a psychiatrist, and I was helping her getting over getting shot and her feelings toward Castle, and it was a great time. It was some of my best work. It wasn't a lot of waving around and stuff, but it was with her and with Nathan Fillion, wonderful actors. The crew was great. That was a great moment. I really loved that.
And my last question is, what drew you to the world of acting? When was it that you knew that this was something you wanted to pursue for your career? I
got into business to be a director, and I had a dear friend from college, Benji Chile. His dad was assistant director, big assistant director, and they said, well, why don't you come and you can work in the background and you can, shadow and in the what happened is that there was an actor that they wanted me to stand in for, John Amos, and I said sure. And then in the middle of that, he had to go to the hospital. I think he got injured or something like that in something else. And so they say, hey, Michael, would you read his lines? And I said, sure. And so I read the lines with the cast, the Mary Tyler Moore cast. And we had, I'd worked with him for a year, so I was comfortable and I knew him. So I was just, having a good time. And they were like, for 2 weeks after that, they said, Michael, you got to forget about this directing. You really got this thing. And I said, no, I want to do this. And they said, well, what you can do is you can make a little money while you're acting, and then you can do the directing. And me being a pragmatic middle-class guy, I go, well, if you're going to make some money, yeah. And I immediately started working, and I fell in love with it. And that was like 76, 77, 78. And I fell in love with it, went back to school, and really enjoyed it. I always thought that I'll do this for a while, I really love it, and then I'll do the directing. And that took about 20 years to to get to my first directing slot. But that's what happened, and I love it. But just recently, I directed a friend of mine. She had a YouTube a series, and she wanted me to direct 3 episodes, and I did that. And I said, you know what, I love directing, and so I'm decided to give up the acting up to a point and just do the directing now.
Well, I'm so glad that you continued acting to return as Worf for
Me
Star
too.
Trek Picard.
Me too.
But thank you for all that you've done for the fans over the years.
Sure.
It's been so great to see your character's evolution, but seeing you appear in all these fan favorite pop culture series has just been a joy.
My pleasure.